All right. Welcome. Welcome to Let's Talk Lions. My boys, how we doing?
Good, man. How are you?
What's up, my man? How are you?
Hey, I'm doing good. It's good to see you both. We got Colton here at the bottom of the screen, and then we got our boy Shep up in the top right corner. How's the summer been? Because Colt, I haven't seen you in a little bit, man.
It's been good, man. Really good.
Yeah,
I got
you
I got a
go for it.
5-month-old, so I've been doing all the new baby stuff. It's been a lot of fun.
Congratulations. What Lions gear did you get him so far?
Oh, he's got so many. Well, the best thing is he has season tickets with me, so
Oh, heck yes. That's awesome. So you're going to all home games this year?
I'm gonna try to. We'll see.
Yeah. All right, Shep, you going to any games this year?
I probably will tag along with Colton to like at least 4 or 5. So he tried to sell me on the full season ticket package, but just with schedules in the fall and the winter,
Yeah.
it's just too tough in our household. But yeah, I always make it to 4 or 5 games a year.
Dude, it's pricey. Also, little Ken, my guy, coming in, throwing out the congrats to you. That's what I'm talking about, dude. I don't have a kid yet. I think that's gonna be it's gonna be a wild adventure. But one of the first things I'm gonna do out of the womb is don them in some Honolulu blue.
You got to get the Drew Brees earmuffs too. Remember the Drew Brees earmuffs for his kids at the Super Bowl? You got to give them the huge earmuffs that are way too big for their head.
Bro, throwing it back. Let's go. Absolutely. Fellas, training camp. It's finally here. I mean, so far, 1 week in, they had the pads on today. Seen a few interesting things, but first and foremost, I got a text. I'm in a group thread, obviously, with the both of you. Got a text earlier this week from you, Shep, laying out the injury report for CJ Gardner-Johnson. Tell me what went through both your guys' minds, Shep. Let's start with you initially, and then where we are now.
Was that Monday morning? I think it was Monday morning, right? That
Yes,
injury report came out Monday. It was
Monday.
It was Monday or Tuesday. Yeah, man, that's just like you're so excited for training camp too, and every year like you'll see the injuries, right? We just saw Joe Burrow injury, etc. But like just checking Twitter at like 9:30 in the morning, and your heart just like sinks, and you're like, no, and then you don't even want to text your boys because you're like, I don't want to ruin their day.
Yeah.
So I decided to, right? I decided to ruin your guys' day, and then we just kind of rapped about it for a half hour about how horrible it is, etc. He's done for the year. But then,
you did your job. You kept us updated throughout the day, letting us know all the good news. But yeah, you did ruin my morning.
Absolutely ruined your morning.
Yeah, but you know what? Good news is CJ Gardner-Johnson. I mean, have you guys heard? Do either of you know what like the actual skinny is?
What I heard is no structural damage. So I mean, probably just tweaked something, and MRI came back good. So hopefully he'll be back in there. I think I saw something today that he was doing some stuff on the side, so that's a good sign.
Okay.
Yeah, I read that he was full sprint almost today. So full sprint after getting carted off the field on Monday is pretty good news. So good to hear. Good positive direction going there, I guess.
Yeah. No, it is huge. I'm glad you brought up the Joe Burrow thing as well, because he had a calf strain?
Yeah, and they said multiple weeks.
No way.
For that calf strain. So you don't even know that. And calf, yeah, it could linger, man. Calves linger too. It could get into the regular season.
Oh,
that's tough. It's a tough injury, I feel like.
The training camp injuries, like within the first week, are some of the toughest ones. It's like week 1 and then the last week for me. Yes. Everything in between, It's like, all right, like this is a part of it, but like it's just the fear, I guess, for me, like immediately where I'm like, oh my god, no. Versus like think about when Taylor Decker went out with his finger. I think what was that 2 seasons ago when he broke his finger the day before, and then he was out 6 games. But did you guys hear? Either of you guys watched the presser of Dan Campbell earlier today, and when somebody asked him the question about somebody getting surgery?
Yeah.
Who was he talking about? Because I have it here and I've listened to it like 8 times and I
Yeah.
cannot.
I think that he was. I couldn't hear it either because it was super quiet. You know, always the reporters are, but I think they were referring to Emmanuel Mosley.
Yeah, they were talking about Mosley.
Oh,
I was gonna say I read on Twitter, and this is Twitter, that the question was if he had an additional knee scope, so just like another knee clean out.
okay.
So you're wondering if it's just a clean out. Clean outs are normally a few weeks. And they said he'd be back in camp on Monday next week. So I think once he's back in camp, we'll get a little bit better of an explanation on what's going on there. Hopefully.
Fascinating. Okay. All right. Well, that's a bummer, but you know what? I really didn't know what to expect out of Mosley. I figured like, oh, we might get him week 4, week 5. So I guess that's not the worst thing. But let me ask you, Colt, looking at training camp so far this year, what's maybe like 1 or 2 things that I guess you're most looking forward to seeing actually play out throughout training camp? Is it a couple of these rookies? Is it the addition of Cam Sutton? What's something for you in training camp that you're pretty hyped about?
Yeah, man, I'm really excited about a lot of different of the battles kind of going on. But one of the most interesting to me is the running back situation. Obviously, I know that you've probably talked a lot about it, but David Montgomery's a good running back.
Oh, talk to me.
I think he led the league last year in forced missed tackles.
Yes.
He's consistently one of PFF's highest graded rushers, and he's always been behind a pretty bad O-line in Chicago. So I'm excited to see what he's going to do here. And then, you know, we go and draft Jahmyr Gibbs at 12. I wish we would have been on the stream because that was a wild thing when we drafted him. But the more and more I see it, I think we talked that night about how we need another receiver in the room, even with JMO healthy.
Yes.
And you know, we have these guys that have played solid for us, but I don't really believe are elite, like top tier talent. And Jahmyr Gibbs can be that. And I kind of got roasted by some of my friends earlier this week when I sent them a video of Gibbs lined up in the slot and just like practicing like some fade routes and stuff. And I was like, guys, like this is a running back. He is lined on the slot and he's practicing routes that running backs do not do. So I'm really interested to see what the split is, how often they'll both kind of be on the field at the same time.
Yeah.
And, you know, if you look at kind of some of like, I don't know if you guys ever pay attention to that. I was talking a little bit with Shep the other day about this, but it's just weird to me. Like, Jay, and do you think David Montgomery is going to have the worst rushing season of his career this year?
No. Why?
Well, that's what his line is set at. It's like he's never rushed for less than 800 yards, and he's rushed for over 1,000 yards, I think, a couple times. And his over-under right now on FanDuel is 725 yards.
Really?
So then you're like, okay, well, they must be projecting Jahmyr Gibbs to have this huge workload, which I think Jahmyr Gibbs is an underrated rusher of the ball too.
Yeah.
But his lines are only like 600 yards on the places that he's actually listed. So something doesn't add up here. And I think they're both probably hitting those marks. I don't know. I feel like I'm crazy. Maybe it's a homer thing, but I feel like those are way too low of marks. And I think David Montgomery is going to be the plotter through the middle of the field. He's going to probably be our goal line back. And then, we're going to sprinkle in Jahmyr Gibbs in the rushing game, but he's going to be heavily used in the slot and in the passing game. So I'm interested to see how that keeps playing out. But all I keep seeing is just Jahmyr Gibbs catching the ball on routes that running backs do not run unless it's Christian McCaffrey or Alvin Kamara.
Look, I know that Gibbs is different than Jamal Williams. I'm sorry, Montgomery. I know that Montgomery is obviously different than Jamal Williams, but like Jamal Williams last year rushed for over 1,000 yards. So like the difference of how they're going to use our backs this year is going to be different. It's different than Swift. They're a different combo, but 750 yards, I feel like I would take that over all day.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things I've considered is, okay, he kind of did have a bell cow role most of the time. I mean, in today's modern NFL, like rushing 65 to 80% of the snaps.
Yeah.
But also, like, the pace of play for the Chicago Bears is much, much lower. They're like bottom 3 in the league, and we were pretty high up there, like top 5, I think, in pace of play. So we have more plays available. So even if that percentage goes down, which I anticipate it probably will with such a talented back like Gibbs there,
Yeah.
I just don't see it going. Like, maybe he has 5 less plays a game that he's not on the field, but probably getting pretty close to the same opportunity. Like, I just see him being an easy, without injury, an easy 1,000-yard rusher. And Jahmyr Gibbs, man, I don't even know. I feel like he's total yards is just going to go crazy.
Well,
Is
that's
he
what's
he could have
it's
some
funny because
explosive plays on the run game. You see that in his highlights, but then in the passing game, he's always been solid.
No, well, my buddy was even saying yesterday, we shot a video and he was saying that they don't even have Jahmyr Gibbs line set because nobody knows what to expect on that. I don't know if that's changed from yesterday to today, but yeah, it's going to be weird, man, seeing them back there.
I was going to say, he didn't check all 18 different sportsbook apps. I'm sure it has it on one of the sportsbook apps. You can find one of the lines, you know?
Yeah, he said FanDuel.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can always find it. No, I think, Jay, what's interesting, what Colton said, is from a Lions fan perspective, I really do think you got such a good glimpse of what this year is going to look like last year, right? You bring in Montgomery to replace Williams. Same capacity, I feel like. They're a little bit different style of a runner, but they're both a tough runner inside the tackles. And then Swift is that electric, big play, ability type. Swift was so tough last year because he had such hype coming out of Hard Knocks in training camp.
Yeah.
And then week 1, he looked it, right? Remember week 1 against Philly, he looked electric. And then from week 1, he just had those nagging injuries where he never got back to where he was week 1. So that was kind of the letdown. But then to see, Williams take over and really be that bell cow back, I really think that's what they're expecting Monty to be and really carry the weight for a rookie. There's not many times you see a rookie running back come into the league and carry the weight for a team unless you're a stud back. So I really think that they're really trying to do it the right way and share the load here. So that's why I think your yardage totals, who knows? It's not something I put money on because if you're adding up both those numbers, that's 1,500 yards a year for the team. That's a lot of rushing yards. Yeah. And I know this O-line is really good. They could get there. But you never know where the share is going to be. It could be Monty. It could be Gibbs. We don't know. So that's why it's tough to put the money on it, I think.
That's fair. No, that's a really good point, Shep. Huh. So, okay, in the same light then, Shep, coming back to you, question I asked, Colt, looking at training camp, is there something that you're looking at throughout this period that you're most excited about? And are you guys going to any training camp days?
I'm not, man. They sold out so fast.
Like that.
Did you see how fast they sold out?
Yep.
I was literally like, I'll look at the schedule, and I know it comes out today. And that's what's so funny, man. In recent years, you could get training camp tickets. Like, it wasn't
just show up,
maybe
man.
Right. Yeah, they were giving them away. You're getting $20 to go, right? So I didn't even think about how quick it would sell out, but man, it's exciting to see how the town is this revved up for the season. Like they're selling up training camp like that. Like that's exciting as a Lions fan just in general. Because we just need hope. We need hope in the city. And I think that's what when September rolls around, everybody's just biting, ready to go. And I think selling out training camp that fast is a detriment to that. So I think for what I'm excited to see and some of the different things that when we start to actually play preseason games, I really am excited to see this new revamped secondary. Just because for the last 4 or 5 years, that secondary has been tough to watch. It's been really tough to watch. So for them to pour the type of assets they did, moving on from a guy like Okudah, who I don't know where you fall on Okudah, Jay, but it was tough. He was tough to watch some games, and I think the coaching staff felt the exact same way. So to move on from a guy like Okudah, bring in, the high class free agents they brought in, and then to pair him with Kirby Joseph coming back off a big year, right? That secondary could be electric. And it really could feed into that front seven, taking another step from last year. The front seven was good last year, especially towards the tail end of the year. That front seven takes another step, compound it with, what could be an electric secondary if they stay healthy. That's what I'm excited to see. So going into those preseason games, especially week one, like I think that we haven't seen a really good secondary in Detroit in quite some time.
I mean, I literally can't put my finger on when. I mean, I guess you go back to when we had Diggs and Slay, but I mean, was the whole tapestry electric? I don't think so, but like looking at this one, bringing in Camps, and lest we forget Tracy Walker coming back. Like
Tracy Walker coming back. Yep.
That's a guy that, that we haven't seen since, what was that, week 4 when he went down Minnesota? I forget. It was early last year, but
I think it was week 2. I think he went down week 2 at Minnesota, right? Or week 3
I know it was Minnesota. I forget what week. No, because I think week 2 was. Yeah, I'm all over the place.
Washington. We beat Washington week 2 last year.
Yes. Lions fan 1 Paulie LFP coming in. Who is the most disappointing player in training? Thanks for the donation, man. You don't have to, but I appreciate it. It's very kind of you. Most disappointing player in training camp. Well, I guess in one sense, Tom Kennedy got waived today. That was disappointing. I love Tom Kennedy, and I think I've just always loved him because of the fire like within him, and seeing him continually go practice squad. Then he gets elevated, but then it's back to practice squad, and then just seeing like his story and everything that he's had to do. I've loved him, and I've always wished he could take that next step over the hump. But I think bringing in Denzel Mims sort of sealed his fate. Either of you guys have a most disappointing player throughout training camp so far? I mean, it's only been a week.
Yeah. A tough question. I think from what we're hearing about the kicking game, that sounds a little disappointing. From what the reporters are getting viewpoints on, like the kickers sound like they're a little beginning of training camp form, and you never like to hear that because of how many games come down to that last second field goal. So, Riley Patterson, and I can't think of the guy they signed from the XFL.
Parker Romo, right? I think it's John Parker Romo.
Yeah, John Parker Romo. During the open portion of the practice that the reporter got to see the other day, they went 4 or 5, but both of them missed kicks from inside 30 yards or 35 yards. So not something you like to hear. But like I said, it's the very beginning of training camp. We got a long way to go.
Oh God. I don't like that though. Colt, what do you got?
Bring back Prater.
Yes, Prater.
I think that some people might end up being a little upset if Rodrigo ends up like being a second string. But I think that you got to say JMO is probably the most disappointing right now just because he's not out there. And I would much rather him, especially with him not playing for 6 weeks, I'd much rather him just get healthy, get to 100%. I don't know if there was like a re-aggravation. Didn't really see enough details about what was going on, but hopefully he gets back out there soon because I'd love to see some JMO highlights and, send them to all my friends and be like, I'm taking him 101 in fantasy football. But yeah, I think that there's so many competitions going on right now that some of the fan favorites like Rodrigo could end up like losing some playing time. Maybe not necessarily like maybe he won't be a starter or whatever, but I think it's good. What I'm noticing really in this training camp is this is by far the deepest we've ever been.
Yes.
I felt like we kind of got a lot of like our starting talents over the last couple of years, but then you saw in games like, what was it? The New England and the Cowboys game. And then we had the bye week. It was like all of our wide receivers were hurt. All of our quarterbacks were hurt. So like we had absolutely no depth. So now to see competitions here and, in some areas even that we see, considered strengths now, like in our DB room and in our linebacker room, and then even they're doing some weird stuff with the defensive ends where some of the guys are kind of moving to linebacker in certain spots, and then what do we do with some of our DBs who like CJ and what's the second round guy that we got?
Brian Branch.
Did
you see the videos of him today though?
Yeah, he looked pretty good. Khalif Raymond's
baby.
fast too, so like I was like, okay, you got to turn your head on that, but also that's a guy that runs a 4.33. So
yeah.
But both of those guys, are they like they going to be playing more nickel? They going to be playing more safety? What? I don't know what's going to happen. I've just been super interested in it. I don't know.
Yeah.
So Colton,
go for it.
Real quick, Jay. I was gonna say, I know you haven't seen the Inside the Den episode, but what I loved about when they highlighted Branch and them drafting Branch is they have a good segment of Branch's pre-combine interview with the Lions, and they ask him straight up, "Do you want to play nickel or do you want to play safety?" And he's like, "I'll play both." And they were like, "No, pick." And he was like, "Nickel." And they were like, "Why?" And he's like, "Because I love to be in the box and I love to blitz and hit people." Like that. That's what you love to hear as a Lions fan, right? Especially coming out of Bama, where that's all he did was just hit people.
Jay, you haven't watched that yet, have you?
No. So it's an hour and a half. I was telling Shep right before we went live,
like a movie.
And my wife, she was like, "Oh, I want to watch it." So I was like, "Okay, I got to watch it with her." But she was at work today, so we haven't had time to sit down and watch it. So I have not seen it yet. Does it break my heart a little bit? Yes.
Dude, it's so good. I feel like we have to mention a couple of things.
I don't mind. You could talk all about it.
Okay. One of the things is Jahmyr Gibbs. They love him. So first off, I think it's pretty clear that they would have drafted him over Bijan Robinson by everything that they've said, which is pretty bizarre to most people. I mean, it's kind of bizarre to me, although I did see that clip of Bijan getting locked up. I don't know if you guys saw that.
I didn't see that.
He made up for it. But Jahmyr Gibbs, they said they would have taken him at 6, which, they were, pretty vocal about. But then they start listing like, okay, like we were at, when did we get him? 12? Yeah,
12.
Pick 12. And Brad Holmes is like, he wasn't 12th on our board, and he wasn't 11th, and he wasn't 10th, and he wasn't 9th, and he wasn't 8th. And like he stops there, but you're like, okay, well, he's definitely higher than 8th. Like that's pretty high up for a running back to be on your board. So thought that was interesting.
Wow.
The next two guys that they got, they said, I think, was it 14 or 18 guys that they had first round grades on?
18, I think. 18,
yeah.
18 guys. And the next, Campbell and Laporta, they both had first round grades on. But then, they get to pick 45, they make that trade, and they're like, we had a round 1 grade. He was a top 18 guy on Brian Branch.
Wow.
So for them to get 4 out of their top 18, like, that's pretty awesome.
That's incredible. Oh, wow, dude. That's so good. Because I remember Holmes, when he was talking to Peter Schrager, he talked about like the 18, the board. And did you guys watch the interview with Peter Schrager?
Mm-hmm.
Bro, okay. Shep, dude, it's an hour and 11 minutes. It goes by in 20. You're just like, it's so good. And I think just learning a lot about Brad Holmes as an individual was very eye-opening to a lot of what he does and why he does it. But he talked about the draft board, and like listening to him just be like, give us more credit. Like, I understand we didn't hit your mock draft the way you wanted, or Mel Kiper, or, any of these other guys, Daniel Jeremiah have it. He's like, but we have our guys. We got them. And then during the draft, because he was talking about Jahmyr Gibbs, he's like, we went and did it. We went and made the move.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's called.
Yeah, it's really interesting.
Yeah, go for it.
I was gonna say, the whole draft prospect, especially being able to see inside the room, inside the war room with him and Campbell, just having conversations. Like one of my buddies texted me today and was like, it's really cool that just Brad Holmes will call up another team and be like, I got this pick and this pick. What do you think? And they'll be like, yeah, we're in. And that's all. Like, that's what it takes to make a deal at the NFL draft, It's not something you see a ton of, especially how like lax it is with Brad Holmes. But it's funny too, because I told Colton yesterday, I said after watching it, every single one of his picks, you just feel like he like won the lottery. Like you feel like he is legitimately that excited that he just got the player he got where he got him at. And it's like it's consistent. It's every single player. And to this point, right, 2 drafts, it's kind of hard not to believe why he's that excited, because he's missed very few times as the GM of the Detroit Lions. So I think that was another really cool piece of it, just to get to see a little bit behind the curtain there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the whole missing thing, even like, I can see my friend Casey, we're in here, a little upset at the situation, but I get it. I get that there is fear coming from the Detroit Lions fan base because of years and years past. But I do absolutely trust Holmes and Campbell, especially during the draft. Like, and you go back to that Peter Schrager interview with him and you listen to Brad Holmes's mind when he was with the Rams and the way that he was a talent scout. And it is so eye-opening that it's like, nah, I trust the guy. I trust the guy, man. You want to go get Jahmyr Gibbs at 12 because of the position that the Detroit Lions are in right now with this O-line, with this like there's so much to the tapestry that, hey, man, I trust you. Don't get me wrong. The Campbell one threw me for a loop, but like as time went on and you saw the fullness of the draft, it was like, shoot, this makes sense. And we finally have some depth at the linebacker room.
Yep. I always fall back on like those top 4 picks. If you just erased where they were picked at, right, and you said, here are your first 2 rounds of your picks, erased where they were picked at, as a Lions fan before the draft, you'd have been pumped, right?
I saw mocks with us taking Brian Branch at 6 before the draft.
And absolutely.
Everyone thought he was going to be a first round at the very least.
Right, absolutely. And he said that last night. He said he was pissed because he was in New York, or wherever the draft was. I forget where the draft was this year.
Kansas City. He was there. He was in the green room. So he was pissed. Yeah, he was pissed that he didn't go day 1. And he talks a little bit about why he stayed for day 2, and kind of like a check on his character of like, I'm going to stay for day 2 because this is something I've always dreamed about, and like I'm going to get picked and I'm going to prove everybody wrong. So it was cool to see that aspect of it too. But yeah, man, him sliding to where he slid to was insane.
Oh yeah, we are blessed to have snagged him. Do either of you guys know? I'm pretty sure, Lions fan, he's coming back in here with another question. When did they say Hendon Hooker will play? From what I understand with the ACL, I really don't think we see him this season. We don't have an actual date. He is on is it the NFI list or?
Yeah, NFI. That's how they
NFI.
do it.
Yeah, he's on the NFI.
It's the same thing with JMO. No, they talked about it a little bit in the Inside the Den. Even when they called him and told him he was drafted, they were like, we want you to get healthy, come here, learn under Goff. So they very much so see him more of like a long-term type of play. I don't think they'll rush him out there, and I don't think they'll need to, because it sounds like, if they really need someone, they have already extended that offer a while ago to Teddy Bridgewater. He just came and visited. We'll see what happens there. But, I mean, the answer right now is Goff. They want Goff to do what he did last year, especially towards the end of the season as he was kind of ripping around. And just a smart football player, man. And I have no problem with him just seeing what they have in Goff. And everyone's surprised when Goff plays well. And it's like, this guy was supposed to be good. Like the Tennessee Titans traded everything away, or the Rams traded everything to the Titans to, get Jared Goff and brought him to a Super Bowl. Like, guy can play ball.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Yeah. I think people put a little bit too much faith and weight in McVay and just being like, whatever he says goes. He's the young brainchild. And I'm like, okay, well, like, don't get me wrong. He was able to get them to 2 Super Bowls. They win 1 with Stafford. Like McVay is good at his job, but I think there was just like this, that they just cast it out Goff like he was nothing. And like you said, guy was supposed to be good, and we saw a career year out of him last year. Colt, you bring up Teddy Bridgewater. So I got to ask you both, how do you feel about the backup QB situation?
I do think, man, I think where there's smoke, there's fire, right? So I do think that Teddy Bridgewater will eventually be a Lion. Teddy's camp's probably waiting to see if there's any training camp injuries to where he can go get starting quarterback type money instead of backup type money. But at the same time, the Lions have had interest. They've shown interest. They've brought him in now. Campbell has said, yeah, we would love to have Teddy here. Competition's awesome. So I think where there's smoke, there's going to be fire eventually. And I think it's that right there tells you where Brad Holmes and Dan Campbell think that this year could go. They want to bring in a dude who has started a ton of games in the NFL to be Jared Goff's backup for, God forbid Jared goes down. You got somebody you can keep this, division winning team moving, right? And that's the goal here, is to win the division. So I think them bringing in a Teddy Bridgewater really shows that they have confidence in the rest of the team that, hey, if we lost our starter and we have to bring in somebody who's a little bit less skilled, doesn't quite have the reins like Jared does, but he's a good quarterback, and we still think we can win the division. That's what that means, is them having Teddy there. I think they think the rest of the team is so talented that they can hedge with Teddy.
And Teddy not like taking the contract yet is because he believes he can be a starter in the NFL.
Yeah.
And he thinks he's gonna. I think he's a good quarterback. I remember, what was it, 2019? Drew Brees went down. He was playing for New Orleans, and he went 9-0 or something.
Yeah.
I know he had five wins. I don't know if he went 9-0. I thought he had 5. But either way,
very good in Drew Brees' spot. And then they went and Drew Brees came back. They went to the playoffs. I think they went pretty deep. But man, that would be an awesome pickup. And I would, obviously we didn't have to deal with quarterback going down, but you've seen a lot of teams last year have to make do with a backup for a little bit. So fingers crossed we don't have to, but that would be great if we could get a little bit of insurance behind Goff.
Yeah.
Two gloves Teddy, guys. Two gloves Teddy.
I don't like that. I do not like the 2 gloves.
The 2 gloves are so bad.
It's not a good look.
It's such a bad look. Zero confidence in a quarterback that comes out with 2 gloves.
Yeah, what? You're right. I'm immediately like, are you just afraid you're going to fumble? What's the deal?
Yeah, zero clue.
I wonder if he just has like small hands, or because that's the Kenny Pickett thing, right? He had the super small hands, but he wears 2 gloves. I don't know. Maybe it's the same thing, but.
I mean, that's where everybody was making fun of Goff because of his hand size. Remember? I remember that was a thing where it was like, oh, he's got small hands. I remember the day we got Goff, LA fans were just in my comments like, get ready for the fumbles. Like, they were not about his hand size. Let's see here. I saw a question come through, which I wanted to get your guys' thought. Oh, is Mims going to be a good replacement for Chark? Chark, a man that I wanted so much more out of last year, but the injury kept him down. What do you guys think?
I don't know. I liked him as a prospect coming out. Obviously, he went in the second round a few years back to the Jets. Super fast, tall, kind of the same deal as Chark, but hasn't really proved it on the NFL field. Doesn't cost us anything really if he doesn't make the team. And I am so curious who is going to make the team at the wide receiver position, because it's like ARSB, JMO, and everyone else to me, really. And there's guys that have played well. I don't know. Like, who do you guys think are going to make the team? Even.
I mean, in the wide receiver room?
Yeah.
Khalif you take it first. Yeah.
Khalif Raymond, Josh Reynolds. You'll probably carry 6 receivers. That's at least where they normally end camp with, is 6 receivers. So at least Khalif Raymond's coming back because he's a stud punt returner too. Josh Reynolds they like a lot. Yeah. And then you have Mims, Trinity Benson. You got this guy that they just signed to replace Tom Kennedy today. I'm blanking on his name, but
Mr. Irrelevant.
Yeah, right. So,
would it be weird if Antoine Green, he got drafted and didn't make our roster?
Well, supposedly he had a bad couple days. He's not looking great.
I honestly didn't really love what I saw on his tape. He kind of seemed like a one-trick pony, but I think that they are going for a specific type of guy, someone who has a little bit of length. For the Chark replacement, someone who's got a little bit of length but has the speed, because we have all these fast guys, right? We have JMO, we have Khalif Raymond, but Chark was that 4'3" guy, but he's 6'3", maybe 6'2".
I think he's 6'3".
Really, it's going to be if Denzel Mims or Antoine Green can pan out, I think that's kind of going to be one of the battles, maybe even between Josh Reynolds. He's not as much of a burner, but he's a taller guy. And then Marvin Jones. I don't
That's
know.
another one. Yeah, Marvin Jones too. Jay, what do you think? Who do you think's getting cut out of the receiver room?
Bro. Okay, well, I think wide receiver room, I'm with you, carrying 6. I really do think that the Lions walk out with, you're going to have Amon-Ra. The JMO situation's weird because for 6 weeks he's sitting on the NFI, right?
Yep.
But it will be Amon-Ra, JMO, Josh Reynolds. I really think that they love him. And from what I heard just this last week and specifically today with pads on, Reynolds was a dog and just was unbelievable. So I think those 3 are shoo-ins. Khalif is a Swiss Army knife. So that's 4. I'm with you. I love Khalif. I think the guy, especially on special teams as well, you just stick him in the slot. You put him in all these different spots. He gets the job done. So that's your top 4. After that, Marvin Jones to me almost felt like it was a mentor move for JMO.
Mm-hmm.
It almost felt like it was right. Like, let's bring this guy back that we know, trust, and love to help JMO, which I want to get into JMO with you guys. Remind me. So I think Marvin Jones sticks around, and then Denzel Mims. I think those are our 6. I think Trinity Benson gets slided down to the practice squad, and Antoine Green, I am unsure of. I'm with you, Colt. It's odd that we would spend a 7th round draft pick on him, but hey, it's a 7th rounder. It doesn't matter really. If you miss on that, there's so much grace for missing on a 7th.
But I feel like all of our 6th and 7th round picks are going to be Hall of Famers at this point under this regime.
Yeah, that's fair.
The thing about Denzel Mims that I don't think is grasped by a ton of football fans. Everybody thinks he's a bust because of his first 3 years right in the league. If you look at his stats, they are rough. But the guy had Zach Wilson and Mike White throwing him the ball.
Bingo.
And he had an interview with the Lions where he said they asked him how he likes being in Detroit so far, and he said it's nice to run routes other than go routes, which is, I think, telling that he wasn't happy with his role in New York. And 2, you wonder how much New York, the Jets had to cater to Zach Wilson. Being like, all right, your job is to just run deep because you run a 4.3. You know what I mean? And you're tall. Run deep, give him a route because Zach Wilson's going to run around and then just probably chuck the ball somewhere. So
yeah,
I think that was pretty telling for him to say that. Yeah. So I think that was pretty telling. So I think it'll be putting him in a really functioning offense that has a line that can hold up and give the quarterback windows to find wideouts. I think this could be a really interesting year for Mims. I think it'll be interesting to see how he comes out in preseason. I think that'll be pretty telling of how he looks in preseason. And then
and you got 6 weeks of no JMO, so it's kind of like, hey, there's this boost of really prove yourself, make yourself worth it.
Yep, that's a good point,
man. Because the talent level is higher than a lot of these guys, or at least like the case. Like, man, go watch some college tape on this guy, and you're gonna be like, wow, like. He's just mossing guys. He's obviously got that 9 route down, but he's big, he's fast, he's physical. And we just didn't see him even on the field much. And I don't know. It's weird. I'm not super hopeful that he makes the roster, but if he does, it could be one of those genius moves.
Yeah. Okay, so you're not sold yet on Mims, which is fair. Shep just kind of broke down why some people might not be sold on Mims. So that's definitely a fair assessment. I think his physical attributes, his upside is so freaking high for what we have seen that you put him behind a top 3 O-line in the NFL, followed by Ben Johnson's big brain and Jared Goff slinging the ham. Right? Like you put all of that together, it whether Mims succeeds or not, it puts him, I think, really in the best case scenario for him to prove himself to revitalize his career.
Yep. Yeah. Totally agree with you, man.
And this regime definitely has a type. Like, besides Amon-Ra St. Brown, everyone is 4.3 or under. And you're like, okay, they like really fast guys. That's why they went and got Jahmyr Gibbs. That's why they got JMO. That's why they went and picked up Khalif. they like fast guys, and I think they want to like his Khalil Freeman. They didn't just use him as a burner. Like they had him running more routes and stuff. And you hope that you can get guys that are fast that have more of a route tree than kind of like Denzel Mims was saying. Like I don't want to just run 9 routes all day.
Yeah. Dude, I love it.
You have that speed, you have to respect it.
100%. Thank you to everybody watching. There are 76 of you human beings hanging out with the 3 of us. That is more than kind of all of you. We're super happy to have you here. If you got questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. Again, at the bottom, we've got my man Colt, and up in the top right corner, we got Shep, 2 lifelong Lions fans who have endured misery with you. And now here we are with hope for the future. I wanted to ask you guys, do you believe that the JMO, I don't want to use the word hate, but like there's almost like a hate mongering that is being like festering regarding around him? Is any of it warranted, even a little bit, or is it all just people? Give me your thoughts regarding all of the hate that JMO's been taking.
Colton, I'm not touching this, bro. I don't want you coming hit my car with a baseball bat if I say the wrong thing, bro. Colton loves JMO. Loves JMO.
So I feel like.
Talk to me.
Like, is he technically Gen Z?
Probably. If he,
yeah,
I mean,
absolutely.
He's under 24, so yeah.
Absolutely.
I just feel like a lot of people don't understand Gen Z really. Like he acts like so many Gen Z kids that I've met, like that I go to church with and stuff. Like he's goofy, you know, and it's a type that some people don't like. I don't know. I feel like everything is so overblown with it. I think you're going to see when he comes back why we drafted this guy so high, and everyone's going to love him. He's going to be a fan favorite. I guarantee it.
Yeah.
I think it's part of those things that like when you get into and Jay, you and I were talking about this before we started rapping, was when you get into June and there's no football, and your baseball team's horrible, you gotta find stuff to put in the news. So like JMO shooting fireworks off at 2 a.m. and posting on his Instagram, like that's gonna be in the news, and the Detroit sports radio guys are going to rap about it, and it's going to just create this snowball. It's just going to kind of just keep rolling. It's going to pick up more gravity every time he does something that's a little off brand or a little bit. You're like, I don't normally see a pro receiver post something like that, you know? I think it just has become this kind of monster because it's you're at the point of the summer where there's nothing else to talk about. So that was news. It was something that was polarizing, and they realized that the media realized it was a little bit polarizing, so then they just hammered it. So I think a lot of it is it's a lot of smoke. It's a lot of smoke that's really probably, when you get deep down into it, there's probably not a ton there.
I like it. No, that's actually a really good way to look at it. It's the, hey man, we're trying to make a living and getting those clicks, so let's just drag this kid under the mud, which is really annoying because like the last thing I want is for JMO to develop any sort of disdain for the fan base, disdain for the city that he's playing for, or anything like that. Because I think he's just a young buck who's learning the ropes and is in a different generation. And so what? He likes to take photos and throw them on Instagram, and it's weird. I don't use social media in that capacity, so I don't know what the draw is. But
I follow a lot of these wide receivers all across the league on Instagram, and he's not really that different than any of them, besides the fact that he's not playing. You know, like he's just, you know, if his name was Garrett Wilson right now, people would be fine with it because he's balling, right?
That's fair.
He does have to go out there and prove it, but I think he will.
I like it. We have 2 questions that I saw coming in here. First one from Det Fan Man asking for a friend. Who you got as the least talented non-kicking projected starter for week 1? Det Fan Man, what a question. Love the way that you laid that bad boy out.
That's a good question. That's a really good question.
I mean, personally, looking at it and a projected starter.
It's got to be probably interior D line, even though
I'd
I
look-
like those guys.
It's got to be Glasgow,
Ooh.
Anzalone, or maybe your Oppo interior D line position, right?
Yes. Wow, I like that. Now Broderick Martin's probably not a starter week 1. I feel
Probably
like
not.
Probably not.
probably not. I think he's got way too much to work on. Yeah, like that guy owns space. It's his.
Yeah.
He takes it all up
He
and
just eats space.
he just eats it, and it's going to be amazing against the run, but it's probably not a starter. So you're right. Maybe, I mean, Charles Harris is coming off that injury, but he's talented, dude.
Big time.
Dang, boy, that's a good question, Dead Fan Man. And I honestly don't think I have a great answer for you.
I mean, either that or like our wide receiver 3. Like Khalif Raymond was a practice squad guy before. I think he's
Okay.
ultra talented, but like obviously, like if he went on waivers, he might not get picked up right away.
Yeah.
I think
You
he's
really,
awesome. I love
you really
the fit.
think so? Khalif Raymond's kind of been a dog for the Lions.
That's what I'm saying, but I don't think he's viewed around the league like that.
Yeah.
Maybe.
And as a returners' values have kind of plummeted with all the new rules. He's obviously really fast. He's filled in very, very well, but like we picked him off waivers last year, didn't we? Or
Yeah.
2 years ago. Or
2 years
2
ago.
years ago. Yeah.
How do you guys feel about the interior D line before we, we got 15 minutes, 14 minutes. We can run it whenever you guys want to bounce. But looking at the interior D line, what are your thoughts as a whole? Do you feel like the Lions addressed the need enough by getting a guy like Broderick Martin?
Yeah, right. You hear all the hype about Aleem McNeil dropping 20 pounds and
20 pounds.
and up for camp, and I really think that Jay, to answer your question, I was surprised that they didn't address the interior of the D line with somebody because I think that they got eaten up a lot during the middle part of that schedule last year, and then near the tail end of the schedule, the run defense really showed up, right?
Yeah.
Your one caveat there being Carolina. They did not show up that day. Yeah. I was a little surprised that they didn't add another piece off the free agent market or via trade or addressed it higher in the draft. But I think that must speak to how comfortable they are with their current guys on the roster with Buggs and McNeil. I think that they really think McNeil is going to be a stud.
Mm-hmm.
It's his third year in the league. You really don't see, same thing with interior D linemen. You really, really seldomly see an interior D lineman come into the league and dominate because you're going as a 21-year-old against grown men who've been in the league for 8-9 years. They know all the moves. So it's a learning curve. You really got to get your body upright. You got to mature. So I think they're really expecting big things from Lee McNeil this year. And then I think they're going to go with, John Kaminsky and Buggs, and they have that rotating assessment of characters that really worked for them near the tail end of last year and really provided a pretty stout run game. Then that's going to allow your edges, which we really haven't touched on how deep their edge pool is this year.
No.
To really go after quarterbacks, right?
Bro, like, have we all forgotten that Romeo Okwara is alive and kicking?
He's back, yeah. He's back.
He's back.
He looked really good when he came back last year. Like, sure, he lost a step because he just blew out an Achilles.
Yeah.
But, him having full off season of working out and speed training and getting back to where he was, he was a stud. There's a reason they extended him and gave him a big contract before he got hurt. So having him, you mentioned Charles Harris. Charles Harris, he's a good player. He got hurt last year, was hampered by a lot of injuries. Having Charles Harris back, you got Hutch, obviously, and then who's the other guy opposite of Hutch, Colton? I can't think of his name.
Houston?
I'm joking.
Yeah,
James Houston.
Okay.
I'm totally joking. That's another
guy.
That's
Okay.
Colton guy. Yeah, Colton has a James Houston the problem jersey. It says 59 the problem. That's all it is. And then James Houston changed his number. Didn't he?
You did. To like not even a good number. He changed
What
it from a bad number to a bad number.
I think he went to 41, right?
Yeah.
Or
I
42.
think it was like an old number for him, like something he
Jackson
used in
State.
college.
Yeah, it was a
whatever.
Jackson State number.
Okay. All right.
But yeah, so I think that's the encouraging piece is we really haven't touched on those edge rushers, and I think if they can get teams in 3rd and long, those edge rushers can eat, and then that secondary we started talking about at the beginning can really lock some guys down. So the defense could be exciting, man.
You're hyping me up, Shep. What about you, Colt?
I just am like, I just keep thinking and I love Jahmyr Gibbs, but I just keep thinking about Jalen Carter. I'm like, man, how do the Eagles keep getting away with this? But
I don't know,
because I do still kind of look at our interior D line like maybe this is the weakest part of our team. Isaiah Buggs played really well at the end stretch of the season last year. Let's hope he keeps playing that way. Ali McNeil. They said he's dropped 20 pounds, but he's just as strong as he was before. He's just leaner.
Yep.
So I don't know. I mean, I trust this regime. If they, don't think that like a guy like Jalen Carter was worth going after and they wanted to roll the dice on Jahmyr Gibbs, I trust that they have a plan there. Whether it be maybe going after some type of free agent later or making some type of trade, or they just really like the guys that are there. I don't know. Maybe they're even planning on switching up some schemes. It seems like they have gotten a lot of guys at like the linebacker, D-line, and defensive backs who can kind of be amphibious and like play in multiple spots. So I wonder if we're just going to see a lot of defensive sets that are different to just throw off these other teams because we have guys that can play in multiple positions. I don't know.
All right. So you find yourself, it's July 28th, right? We got like 40 some odd days till kickoff. I'll see you guys here that night, I heard. My question for you is, how do you feel week 1, Kansas City, as of right now, July 28th, looking at our squad, 1 week into training camp? Obviously, this answer can change in 2 weeks if some guy, blows out an ACL, or this could change. But as of right now, how do you both feel walking in week 1 into Arrowhead as they hang up their frickin' banner?
Take it, Colt.
Yeah, I feel like if you're going to play them, I know that they haven't lost, like Patrick Mahomes hasn't lost an opener ever, but I feel like if you're going to play them, you'd want them to, especially with all these new guys, they don't have a bunch of tape on you. Like, this would be the time to do it, is early on in the season. You never want to play Kansas City. You never want to play the Eagles. But if you are, I feel like, hey, like, let's play them early. Let's try to sneak a win in here. Oh my gosh, if we win this game,
bro,
I don't want us to win this game because I will be so irresponsible if we win this game. Things will be burning. The city of Detroit might burn down, honestly.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, it's one of those games. It's like you can't expect to win. You can't really be mad at. You just hope we play well, and if you win, like, it's gonna be too much.
I'm taking PTO on Friday so that I can go to jail Thursday night.
That's a good idea. I was gonna say, Jay, you might need an air mattress or 2 at the pad.
Yeah.
Cold can sleep over. Sleep
on the ground, guys.
Yeah, sleep on the ground.
They did have their so-called wide receiver 1, Kadarius Toney. I don't know if I really believe that, but he had some knee scoping done. He's injured like he always is. So chance he's not even there week 1. And even if he is, he will have missed all of training camp. So that's probably a good thing. So maybe we're healthier than them. I don't know.
Yeah, I think the opinion there is right. If you want to catch KC, I think you want to catch them early because we've seen what they've done late, right? We see what they do late in the year. They win Super Bowls. But for me, looking at week 1, I think you're really playing with house money, man. I really do think you're playing with house money there because 1, nobody's expecting you to go in KC the night they get their Super Bowl rings with a team that is young, talented, right? There's a reason that the NFL is opening the season with the Lions because the the league views the Lions as a really young, up and coming, exciting team. And I think if you don't believe that yourself, just look at how many primetime games they have this year compared to a few years, the past few years. I think it's huge. So I really think you're playing with house money. I think it's exciting that we're taking the main stage as a Lions fan. That means we're going in the right direction. We're being built in the right direction. If we pull it off, oh my goodness, the streets of Detroit will be wild. And if not, I think you're just, as a Lions fan, looking for just a solid performance. Just a team that looks solid, looks like they should be there, looks like they're not too scared of the moment. Because I think really, if this team is what we want them to be, and we want them to win the North, and we want them to host playoff games and win playoff games, they're going to be in that moment a lot more, right? Like, just like opening night at KC, they're going to be in that moment a lot more. So I think that's what they want to show you. And I think that's what you really got to look for week one as a Lions fan.
I like that.
Will
It's
say,
like hanging in there.
I'm looking at DraftKings right now. And
yeah, you are.
It's the biggest spread of the week, tied for the biggest spread of the week. But the over-under is at 54. So they're expecting, lots of points on the board and the Lions to lose by a score, like by 7 points.
Okay.
But, I mean, man, if the over-under is 54, there's a lot that could happen there that could go our way.
Oh, yeah, dude. I mean, I think both of you guys put it so well. I think that, Shep, you saying you're playing with house money, like that's a great phrase in regards to it. And the way I see it is like, I agree with you, Colt. If we had to play the Chiefs this year. Out of the 18 weeks, 17 games, I would want to play them week one. Shep, you put it great. They are consistently great in November, December, and January. So why not play them September, October? And week one, you don't give Andy Reid any time to watch your defense for the past 5 weeks, 6 weeks, and be able to dissect it, break it down, right? Like Cam Sutton. Yeah, there's film on Cam Sutton. Yeah, there's film on CJ Gardner-Johnson. But I mean, you start bringing it all through. Kerby Joseph. This defense is brand new. The secondary is brand new with some of these sweet additions of Jack Campbell, Brian Branch, nickel. Like, I guess what I'm trying to get at is, if I could play KC, I want to play him week one, and I want to try to slay the giant and punch him right in the mouth. And worst case scenario, you lose. All right, on to the next game. Everybody thought you would.
Yep.
Yeah, I like it. High hopes and low expectations coming from the comment section here. I agree. It's high hopes. I mean, the expectations, like I have high expectations that this team would hang with Kansas City week one. Those are my expectations. Hang with them. Prove that, like, yeah, NFL, you chose us for this night. Look at us. Like, we're here for it. We're here in the limelight. So, but
Arrowhead's it's a tough stadium to go in and win, especially coming off a fresh Super Bowl. Like, it's a loud stadium, lively fans. So it would be a really, really big deal if they went in and did that. And you just, put up a good fight.
Yeah.
Let us see, some points on the board. Let us see you stop them more than you expect the Lions to. I think it's going to be fun. Yeah, it's going to be a great game.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm looking forward to it. I don't know if you guys have any closing thoughts about camp that we did not get to. If you want to hit it, if not, we can roll out of here. You guys have any other thoughts? Anything you want to talk about? Kerby Joseph being a ball hawk?
Yeah, I think I think I'm excited for this season. I'm excited for training camp to keep rolling on. Games start next Thursday. There's the Hall of Fame game in Canton. So you'll get your first taste of preseason football next Thursday, and then the Lions follow up, I think, a week and a half later, right? They play that Saturday. So
I think Friday, the first week.
Or Friday, yeah. So you start to get really some quick turnarounds here as we start to see some football on the TV screen. So it's just exciting, man. I'm excited to see where this team, picks up from where they left off last year.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think my thoughts are just like, I love the attitude. A lot of people have reservations about the Lions, deservedly so. Like we've had high hopes coming into seasons before, but the coaching staff, the players, they've all acknowledged the same thing. We haven't done anything yet.
Yes.
And although we had a great 8-game stretch to end of the season last year, it doesn't really mean anything. This is a new season, so we have to go re-earn that. You hear Dan Campbell talking about like, we haven't done anything. It's all about the work. We got to put in the work. So to see this camp, I love to see these battles. Because, if people just had like, I'm a shoe-in to be the first team, you wouldn't have to work as hard. So if it really is all about the work, then they've done the right things. They've set themselves up for success by building, a team with some depth, with some good top-end talent, and create a little bit of competition. It's been cool. I think this is a different training camp than we've ever had, at least under this regime, because they've built this from the ground up, and it seems like everything is kind of falling into place.
Absolutely. You going to any training camps, Colt?
I'm not. I thought about going to it. We had early access for season tickets, so if you ever need them again, Shep, let me know. Like I'll get early access to anything. But yeah, I'll be like out of town a lot, and with the 5-month-old, it's a little tough.
That's fair.
Do too many things like that, and we're gearing up to go to every single game. So
yeah, no, that's a pretty big deal. Yeah, I'm going Monday, so I'm looking forward to it. I'm heading out there.
Awesome, man.
Yeah, I'm just amped. I want to see the boys. Want to see the young guys. I want to see Campbell, Brian Branch. Like I want to get my eyes on them and really see them just putting in the work. It's gonna be exciting. And for anybody in the chat, all 68 of you at this point, if you're gonna be there Monday 31st, I'll be there in the morning, just scurrying around. So come say hey. But if not, no worries.
MCDC is in person, please.
And it's cool because like you're close. I don't know if you guys have ever gone to a training camp, but yeah, you're like close. Right up on them. So you're like, oh my God.
Yeah, it is cool. Hopefully he does the up downs with you there. Those videos have been circulating Twitter with him leading the team doing up downs.
Dude, I'll do like 4.
Yeah. Oh, just be dead. Just be done. That was like Hard Knocks last year where he did like 15 of them, and him and I forget was it Deuce Staley or I forget who it was he was talking to. They both like finished and they walked over to each other and they're like, "Are you dead tired?" And the guy's like, "Oh my God, I can't feel my legs."
Yeah. Dude, I miss Hard Knocks.
Who do you think is like going to replace that energy that we had with Deuce Staley?
Wow.
Is it going to be a player? Is it going to be a coach? Do you think anyone can? I mean, he was awesome.
From what I understand, CJ Gardner-Johnson is a talker. He is in your face. Kirby Joseph described him today as a AA battery. Like he is just like he's plugged in and he is going. And Taylor Decker, I don't know if you guys saw his post practice session yesterday. He talked and he was like, it was right after CJ Gardner-Johnson got hurt, so maybe it was Monday. He was like, that guy on the field versus when he's not there is so you can feel it. You can feel the energy. He was like, he goes, we're doing walkthroughs and this guy's energy is in your face. And he's like, bro,
next level.
He's like, this isn't a walkthrough speed. Calm down. So honestly, that'd be my answer is CJ Gardner-Johnson's the juice.
Yeah, that's a good answer. I'd probably have to go the same way. That's good.
I like it.
Yeah. Well, hey, thank you, fellas, for hanging out. Maybe we do this. I'm not going to say weekly because I don't want to put that on you, but come the regular season, I wouldn't mind hanging out right before a game, on a Friday, just kind of shoot the crap, see what you guys are thinking. I'm not going to put you on the spot right now, but think about it.
Oh, absolutely, man. Anytime you need me, I'm always down to talk line. Always.
All right, done deal. We're going to make it a regular thing this season. Again, for everybody in the chat at the bottom, we've got my man Colt. In the top right, we got Shep hanging out, talking some Lions. Thank you, everybody, for watching, for liking the stream, doing all the things that you do in order to make the algorithm say, this is good. And if you didn't do it, it hurts, but it's okay. Thank you for hanging out. And as always, I will catch you next time on Let's Talk Lions.